This time on One Foot Flipper, I never explain these glasses. Stay tuned.
One foot flipper.
Hey everybody, I'm back, baby. My first video in about 3 weeks. See, I had a lot of personal stuff to attend to. My channel was demonetized at the time anyway because I posted too many old commercials. So I just decided to take a break from all of it and deal with other stuff. And it was kind of nice not to have to work my packing around the filming of videos. And I had spent the last couple weeks really dealing with a broken down Jeep. What should have been about a 12-minute repair turned into a 2-week nightmare, which I had to get help from other people. All it was, it started running bad and it went into limp mode and threw up a code of cylinder 5 misfire. And I looked it up, and that's usually the coil. The coil is the thing that sits on top of the spark plug in a modern car that makes the spark plug fire. In an older car, the coil will be a separate thing that will be located someplace else. But in a modern car, almost every spark plug has its own coil. Now, that should be about a 10-minute job to replace that coil. Not mine, though. Instead, the coil had adhered itself to that spark plug, and instead it broke off at the plug. So we couldn't get the plug out because it still had a big rubber piece of the coil on it. And that turned into a 2-week adventure where finally one of my Facebook friends came over and he was able to get the darn thing out. And then minutes later, the new coil was in and the new spark plug was in and everything was fine. Okay, this was my daughter's first Our Generation / American Girl doll. She was always called Camping Girl. I don't even think she was given an actual name. She sold for $27 along with a bag full of clothes for her. Sold this license plate for all of $4.76. I will make about $1.50 on the shipping on it. It is in very rough condition, as you can see. This is Our Generation bedding that comes out of the Our Generation RV camper. The RV camper itself, I parted it out because it is so huge and costs so much to ship that the item itself becomes worthless, but some of the various pieces are worth money. Basically, I made just as much money off of this as I would have actually cleared off selling the whole thing because it costs so much to ship. Basic reader book from 1936, $6.53. Very high quality painted cowgirl miniature. I believe this is from the Knuckle Duster series, but I could be wrong. Sold for 20 bucks. And it's starting to be baseball time. Sold this Louisville Slugger glove, $7.06. Alright, I sold this stack of 7 movie theater soda cups that I got at the bins for $17.34. Weighs about half a pound, so got about $1 into it. Not bad. About 3 years ago, I bought some a tub of Madame Alexander dolls. I keep thinking I've sold all of them, but I haven't. This one sold for all of $3.60 after 3 years of markdowns, and there's still 2 of them left in that tub. None of the good ones, though. I sold what I call a Pokemon school kit for $9.40. 10 pads of Pikachu Post-it notes, 1 Pokemon bookmark, and 1 Pokemon pen. $9.40 plus shipping. This would probably be a find of my wife's. An Easter Bunny inside an egg, Carol Wright trinket box, $3.56. Being that this is wrapped in plastic, I've had this for at least 3 years. This one's a recent listing, though. A Dragon magazine. Sold in about 2 days for $18. This one has a deck of mini things insert. Those who play Dungeons & Dragons will know what that is, and those who don't, won't. Here's what's going on every day. The stock market is currently just being decimated. I wake up every day, and if I hadn't lost it already, by the end of the day, I lose another $1,000. I guess I could move all of our money. Well, I can't actually even move all of our money into various fixed incomes because some of our retirement accounts don't even have that option. In any case, if I do that, I for sure miss the recovery because it'll happen when I'm not watching. Or, you won't know it's happened until too much of it's already happened. So, I'm enjoying losing $1,000 a day at the moment. Now, none of this is meant to be political because I'm not a hugely political person. I really mostly go for the viewpoint. If it's good for my family, then I'm probably for it. If it's bad for my family, then I'm definitely going to be against it. And that's about as complicated as it gets. I feel that for my life, time spent on myself and on my family produces a better effect on my family's life than me caring all that much about politics. And I believe that in a democracy like ours, the will of the people inevitably will cause the things that the people want to happen. And all this fighting back and forth between the various parties, all that does is hasten or slow the inevitable. This could be something nationwide, could be a single state, or could be a single city. When that tips for long enough, the majority wants something, then that something is probably going to happen. All right, I sold this Glorfindel on foot Warhammer Lord of the Rings miniature, professionally painted. This sold for $31.50 in about a week and a half. Not bad. These Warhammer Fantasy Lizardmen, pack of 5, mostly unpainted. Got $26.19 for these. They're from around 1990, 1991. The old miniatures are almost always worth more than the new ones. I sold 5 different Dragon magazines to about 3 different customers for about $38. And to one of the Dragon magazine customers, I sold 4 consecutive issues of Polyhedron. That's another gaming magazine. These only sold $10 for the lot. Despite the fact these are insanely rare compared to Dragon, they just aren't worth much. I guess it's just limited demand. And also, they're much thinner in Dragon magazine. These are only 32 pages, while Dragon magazine are several hundred, or at least 100, even though they waste most of the space, but a lot of magazines do that. Boomer's Adventures in Asmic World, $4.85. Did Boomer have any other adventures? Are there any other adventures in Asmic World that didn't belong to Boomer? Post that in the comments, because I have no idea. Hardy Boys, House on the Cliff, relatively high grade, $3.26. Second time I sold this. Once I lost it. This time I found it, and it sold again. 3 Warhammer Chaos Daemonettes of Slaanesh. Around 1989, 1990, $34. Not bad. One side effect of this is I'm currently caring less about small amounts of money. I'm not going over the grocery store receipt anymore. I don't, when my wife brings it home, because it never made me happy anyway, and she never spends as much as the grocery store these days as we already lost in the market. And I'm really not caring about small amounts of money. Like, when I go out picking with Meta Bubbles, I always buy the drive-thru. Might just be one before we go, or if it's a bigger day, we'll have, breakfast and lunch. Now, I am personally the kind of person who maximizes every single nickel on my drive-thru order. I'll use the app, I'll pick the right items, pick the right offers in the apps, I'll understand which items are terrible values. Did you know that some items at your fast food places are terrible values? That some items are just only minor variations on other items, but with huge price differences? The worst offender of this I've always seen is the Big Mac. At its core, the Big Mac consists of a McDouble with lettuce and an extra piece of bread. Yeah, I know the sauce is different, but they'll give you the sauce. They used to give you the lettuce too, but now they charge 30 cents for it. But both of them have the same 2 meat patties and the same piece of cheese. That lettuce and that extra piece of bread somehow results in the Big Mac costing vastly more than what a McDouble cost. Now, the worst I've ever seen it was where the Big Mac was $3.99 and the McDouble was 99 cents. That was about 6 to 8 years ago, before they started creeping the McDouble up at price. But today in the app, I see the McDouble is $2.49 and the Big Mac is $4.99. And at only twice the price for that extra piece of bread, it's still the closest in price I've ever seen those two together. So where was I going with this? My wife, Meta Bubbles, my daughter, they're the opposite of me. They order exactly what they want every single time. And now that I wake up every morning down a grand, I find that little gremlin in my head wanting optimized orders has completely stopped caring that somebody else didn't pick the optimal value. And it's not about me being cheap either. I will sometimes upgrade their orders and spend more because the upgrade was a better overall value. If a bacon, egg, cheese biscuits are buy one, get one for $1, then I'm buying my wife 2 of them even though she only ordered 1. She'll eat the other one eventually. If not, I'll eat it the next day. Sold a 2002 MLB Showdown Draft Pack. This is a collectible card game based on baseball. Sold for $17.99. I have quantity on this. I sold a butterfly garden flag. $8.67. Easy list, easy ship. Weighs almost nothing, so it cost almost nothing at the bins. I would have 35 cents into this. Greg Norman white golf hat. Sold for $8.94. What else do we have here? One of my last Madam Alexander dolls, I believe the only one I have left is actually a boy. This is Little Miss Muffet. She sold for $3.90. Yes, she's the right one. I almost thought for a moment that I sent out the wrong one 2 days ago. I did not. I sold a child's Tommy Hilfiger hat for $4.61, but an error with some cross-listing software overwrote my custom SKU, so I'm going to go look for that tomorrow. I'm not going to waste my time looking for it tonight. I sold a couple of 1991 era computer cards. This is a new old stock SCSI controller, and there's a printer card in here as well. There's always a retro PC market looking for stuff like that. For $9.39, I sold this vintage recipe thing. It has 2 Cool Whip lids inside that have recipes on them. Here is a Bratz Walking Chloe doll with no clothes and no dog. $6.84. Is that everything I have for today? No. I sold a record. I think this is the last record in the house. Choice Cuts. This is a sampler from the St. Louis area. Sold for $3.88. So it appears that I'm on somebody's radar at eBay. I had mentioned in a video how I recombined my 2 stores and was having a heck of a time getting the right name onto my active store, and I even made a typo in the store name, ending up with my main store being called onefootflipper 1. The next day after that video came out, my account started showing as onefootflipper everywhere on eBay other than my feedback page and the login. All my listings show as onefootflipper, my store shows at onefootflipper, my display name on the eBay forum shows as onefootflipper, everything shows as onefootflipper. And this account never had that name. It has never had the name onefootflipper. So somebody at eBay gave me some sort of manual override, and if you're watching, I want to thank you for that. Now, I knew I had a few viewers at corporate because I had a nice young lady from corporate call me once to talk about promoted listings, and she mentioned my channel, and the shipping team, I'm on their radar as well. At least they know about my card shipping videos because they sent me their new card supplies, their eBay branded card supplies, a couple of months before they came out because they wanted my opinion on them, and they're not bad. I don't think they're the best value, but for what they aren't bad. And if your cards are more expensive than mine, then hey, pretty good. But in any case, I really wasn't expecting someone to basically fix my name problem for me. Now, as a side effect, the click-throughs from the eBay forums onto my account are all broken now. But I could care less about that. Most people are 95% terrible and 5% saints. And in any case, they're not buying anything off me anyway. There's no good outcome from posting on the eBay forums, but there can be plenty of bad ones. You know, you can say something somebody doesn't like on there, and then they can go after you. Sold this Aaron Hills golf course hat, $7.13. Would have had 34 cents into this. That's my average buy price on my hats. Another hat, Zoo York. This sold for $11.06. Got a nice New York skyline on the brim there. Somehow got some dog hair on it. I don't know how, but sold a bag of 3 Warhammer guys, Space Marines with heavy weapons. One of them missing an arm from the early 90s. $17.81. And I sold 1, 2, 3, 4 stuffed animals and a set of salt and pepper shakers for $16.45. to one customer who just went through and they got took advantage of my combined shipping on all those items, because all my light items can combine shipping automatically. That's it. Slow day. I don't know about all of you, but my sales are not exactly great right now. I am selling all of $6,000 per month. And about 50% of that's actual profit, which isn't that bad considering I'm only putting in about 20 hours a week now. The stuff just doesn't sell as fast as I can list it, and my storage area is continually full. Now, I'll admit, I lack certain people's skills at going out there and just finding high sell-through rate items every day. I see those videos, and I'm amazed by them, where some of our friends will go into the thrift store, and oh look, there's nicely on the shelves of the thrift store are a bunch of appliances of the same type, all nicely sorted. At my thrift stores, everything is knocked over and mixed up. And oh look, there's good ones there. There's not good ones at my thrift store. And I really don't have that 60 to 70 hour a week work ethic that some of my favorite people in my space have. In fact, I usually need 9 hours of sleep a night because I wake up too often. Yes, I have untreated sleep apnea. No, I'm not going to do anything about it. I tried. The sleep mask actually provokes a sort of PTSD in me because I have been intubated before and I have choked out. I have suffocated and died briefly before, and the tube thing does not work out for me. Oh, obviously I did die, but I did get better. And obviously I'm going to have some physical limitations that hold me back to some extent in many areas, which is why I often say that everybody who can walk should be able to outsell me. So I'm pretty much coasting right now in what is currently a very uncertain financial time. All right, let's do some more sales. In addition to tons of cards, because I've reintegrated both my eBay accounts, so I sell it. So I've got plenty of card sales on my real account every day, but we're still not going to show those. I sold this Blues hat for just under $10. Sealed Scooby-Doo expandable card game starter set, $14.74. Got this at a hobby store clearance about 10 years ago for $1. This goes to a Hewlett-Packard HP41C calculator. Those calculators are money. The ROM and expansion bundles are money. This is the PPC ROM module that I got at the Goodwill bins. It weighs nothing, so it basically cost 3 cents, and it just sold for $172.71. It's my sale of the day. Unknown partial Warhammer sprue sold for $7.93. That's exactly how I listed it. Actually, I put mystery sprue, but same thing. Whack & Hut security hat, $11.81. For $10.31, we got a Super Mario Star hat. These are off one of the many scooters that broke on Julie before I went ahead and got her the most expensive one they make, which is done fine now. $7.28 for these two wheels. I sold 9 issues of Dragon magazine to 2 different customers for a total of $67. Not bad for magazines to sell at double cover price. Although with the inflation, they're probably just selling it the original cover. Warhammer Painted Wood Elf Sorceress, $13.50. This is a stack of rulers, stack of quilting rulers that I got out of the Goodwill outlet just a couple of days ago, and they sold within 1 day for $18. I should make quite a bit of money on the shipping on these, so I'll actually make more than $18. Now, recently I've had this one customer making me nervous. They purchased a very expensive item from me that was a consignment item from a friend. I don't want to point to a specific customer item or anything, but let's say the price was in 3 digits. Weeks after it was delivered, they adamantly claimed they didn't get it. I told them they needed to file an item not received, and which of course was eventually closed in my favor. Yesterday, however, they put in a return for the item that they claim not to have received, asking me for making an exception or to make an exception, because they got it later than they needed it. Now, this item had been delivered in 2 days. It actually showed up before I was even required to send it out. I told them it was a consignment item. I had already paid out the consignee. My contract on it was done. There really isn't anything I can do at this point. But I saw that they had sold on eBay in the past. They have seller experience. They already have a box and packing material, so it should be easy for them to sell it themselves. I then denied the return. Of course, at this point, I wanted to Google the person. Who is this person? I don't want to go into too many details, but it appears that they run a business that, while this is a perfectly legal business, it is something that I consider to be dishonest, if not an outright scam, and they currently have multiple lawsuits pending against them. So I'm expecting the chargeback notice to appear any minute now. So I'm considering making some changes to how I do videos going forward. I am thinking about moving to almost exclusively to focused topic videos that don't have sales in them, and then just doing a single sales video per month where I go over the best items that I sold in that last month. This would allow me to completely divorce my daily workflow of eBay from my video production. I could be working on one or the other instead of trying to do them both at the same time, because that does slow me down quite a bit. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments. And if you know anybody who thinks about anything, why don't you tell them about my channel? I could use a few more subs. Thanks. Hope to see you again soon.